Great day, everyone. I hope that this finds you well. I'm Andre Powell of AMP Speaks, and we are joining you today with WeSERVE's WeCARE's program, dealing with their employment readiness side. WeCare covers career planning workshops and will help individuals seeking a career change, new opportunities to build confidence in their transition. As part of WeCare is ultimately trying to alleviate some of the lasting effects of COVID-19 through these workshops on the weekends. As I mentioned, you were speaking and seeing Andre Powell, also known as that guy Amp of Amp Speaks. And today we are going to focus on our topic, Make Them Family, meeting new people and making genuine connections. And we are going to really dive into this and have a good time with this because I want you all to be successful in everything that you're trying to do and accomplish when it comes to your employment and career opportunities. And so as I continue to pull up our session for today, I want you all to strap in, get ready, get excited. As you all know, this is our last one for this quarter or our last full session. We'll do a recap next month of the 3 sessions that we've done this quarter. But I wanted to challenge you all with a different mindset shift. Now, as you all may have seen before, we have done our employment readiness for resume building, employment readiness for being a competent communicator, so public speaking. We've also given you the opportunity to learn how to better prepare yourself for interviewing. And so today we're going to step outside of the box a little bit with this concept because it really challenges us to look at ourselves and then approach others differently. So without further ado, let me share my screen. And so meet new people and make them family. Our concept behind this, or the focus behind this, is making those genuine connections. So do me a favor, take out your phone. I know you all have one. And if you're here, it'll be real easy. It won't be long. I promise you it won't take much of your time. But do me a favor, take out your phone and go to your favorite social media application. Now, it's commonplace at this point for us to have some social media presence or some social media app that we use. Whether it's just one that we're using, whether it's a few of them that we're using, depending on what you're doing, your lifestyle, you might be heavy into social media. So, but go to your favorite one. I'm doing it similar to you all. You all, if you know or follow me, I'm on Instagram as that guy Amp, and that's my prime real estate, if you will, for content that I'm posting and putting out. That's primarily where I am, and you can find me. All right. And so if you go to that app, access your friends list or your followers list, right? First, I want you to note the number. Note the number of people that you see there, right? Okay. Next, note how many of those are your close friends, like real close, like they might be your day ones. You've known them for 20 some odd years. Note those. Okay. Now that you've done that, third, note the ones that you know by name and very little else or image, but you don't know much else about them. Maybe you've had a conversation in passing and that was the only time, but they're still following you or you're following them. And then I promise you, if you scroll through those, you probably will run into some that you don't know. Maybe you like something that they posted once and you wanted to follow them, or in some cases, they are following you and you don't necessarily know them personally, or you said hi to them one time and they're following you, or you're producing something on your social media platform where they are truly engaged with what you're doing. All right, so now you've noted all of those. Did you notice anything? Well, let me break it down a little bit. If, say, your number of followers currently is at 1,200, Your breakdown might look a little bit like this: 10 to 20. You're really, 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 really close to them. You know them. You might know all their family members. You might know where they're more than where they're from. You might have gone to school with them. You might have a true history with that person. That next 100 to 300 people that you kind of sort of know, you might not engage with them much as far as like engaging and talking regularly, but you might see them and like their post here and there. You may have gone to school with them back in the day and you weren't super close, but you liked them enough or knew them well enough to follow their current life or situation. And then as you got to go to those bigger numbers, if you will, that 800 to 1,000, those are probably the people that you follow them because their stuff look cool. You might not have actually ever had a conversation with them, but you have found yourself kind of associated with them for a reason, right? It is commonplace for everybody to have some social media presence these days. Now, if you would have said 3, maybe 5 years ago, it might have been a different story. You said 15, and there were only a very select few social media platforms even out there. Now we have a whole lot of them that we are finding ourselves engaged in. Forbes, so now that we've done that part, Forbes says that social media is like attending a party. We find ourselves putting our best version of ourselves out there, right? So that people will engage with us, people will follow us, people can kind of keep tabs, if you will, on what we're doing, what we're engaged with, what we're going through. And most of it, I would say roughly about 90 to 95% of what we put out there is us living our quote unquote best life, right? So that people can really engage with the positives, the wins in our lives. And that other 5%, maybe we shared something else, somebody else shared with us, or we found very connecting with us and we shared it on our social media. And maybe there might be, 1 or 2% in there, in that 5, that is us not in our best light or just kind of being real. For everybody, social media is different. And you might be scratching your head like, wait, why in the world would he be talking about social media or the people that we're connected with on social media in regards to how employment ready we are? And I get it. I get it. Why is this even important? Why is bringing up the level of social media engagement we do indicative of our employment strategy? Why would us being a good employee or being an employee at all have some weight with how we connect with others? It's funny that you asked that, because initially when I was thinking about this and bringing this employment readiness, I was like, well, wait, how does making genuine connections really tie in to what people are trying to do when it comes to their careers, right? Our careers is something that we have to think of as a relationship oriented thing. But first, before we really dive into why it's important, let's talk about family. If you think about your family and the people in your family, they make up, come in different shapes, sizes, and you are definitely more likely to engage with your family members differently than you would engage with the rest of the world. You're probably more forgiving to people that are family than you are to people that you barely know anything about, that you haven't gotten to know or understand or know where they're from. Similar to how on our social media, we have that real small group that is real close to us. They're similar to our family. And some of them we might even classify as family. They might not be blood family, but we treat them in such a way that they get that reverence of family. Family are some people that we really have something in common with, that we've really gone through some things, shared some heartaches, some bumps, some bruises, and they've stood by us. And so, family, there is a different relationship, there is a different honor that we associate with family. And that's important because for us, when it comes to even our careers, it becomes the best environments, the environments that we find ourselves most closely aligned with. Let's be honest. When we look at how much time we spend with our actual family and the people that we are involved with when it comes to our jobs, we spend more time at work. So wouldn't it make sense that we would have a significant bond with the people that we work with? Now, it's a different mindset because let's be honest, somebody might be trying to get your job, or you're trying to get a job that somebody that you know of is trying to get to. And so you may not want to necessarily see them as family, if you will, if you're vying for the job that they have, or if you're up for the job that they have. Or you may not want to get too close to people because you don't want lines to be blurred. But my challenge in this whole conversation is to approach people as family because it allows us to be more forgiving. It allows us to be more open to what people are going through, as well as being able to share and truly be who we are when it comes to our jobs and in our job search. We are more likely to, if we're looking at people as family, we are more likely to give people the benefit of the doubt or take a chance with having a conversation that we might not have had before. So, as I have talked about throughout every session, is being authentically you. You can't act authentic. You can try, but once you start acting, it is no longer who you are. And so that is one of our biggest challenges when it comes to what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish as far as getting that next job, landing that next interview. If you are not yourself, if you are not being who you truly are, then you're selling yourself short. You'll find yourself attracting the jobs that you don't want, that aren't necessarily aligned with where you're trying to go. And they might even combat who you are as a person because you didn't truly show yourself. And so as we talk about being your authentically you, I want you always to every situation you find yourself in to be you, be honest, one, with who you are. Because if you don't truly know who you are, you're going to find yourself in situations or in conversations or in making those, trying to make those genuine connections, meeting the wrong people or making the wrong connections or making even the wrong impression. When you're trying to get a job, we are focused on that purpose. That's the point, right? We are making these connections in order to get a job. But if you are truly getting to know people, even if that person can't get you in line with that job, because you are who you are and who you said you are, and you've showed them and you've given them that authentic version of you, you are able to stand in front of them and you'll come to mind when something does come available. And it may not be tomorrow. It may not be 2, 3 weeks, 2 months, 3 months down the road. But when you come to mind, they'll remember you were true. You were your authentic self. You were authentically you. You were honest to the conversation, the effort, the intentionality in which you were putting and approaching the conversation that you were having with them. You were standing up and standing tall in what you were saying to them. And that can be the biggest difference. So I have some questions to ask you, some questions I want you to be thinking about when you are bringing your most authentic self, your most authentic you, your genuine, true McCoy self to the conversations or making people family or making those genuine connections. Are you first comfortable with you? Are you comfortable with who you are? Because let's be honest, if we aren't comfortable with ourselves, we will always come to every conversation more nervous than we should be. If we are true to ourselves and know who we are and we're comfortable in our skin, it shows. Confidence can sell better than any lie could ever. And if you're bringing that confident you to the table every single time, it makes all the difference. Are you comfortable with talking to others? Are you comfortable with others? Now, I realize that based on your personality, yeah, you might be comfortable with others, but it becomes draining. It's not something that you want to do a whole lot of. You have to mentally be prepared to go into those conversations, to make those attempts. And yes, it will require some practice. It will require you taking some time really getting out there, and we're going to deal in some ways to build those genuine connections, really getting out there and making yourself a little bit more comfortable with talking with others. For yourself, do you always find yourself saying yes or no? Are you quick to say yes to any idea that comes up? Or are you quick to say no because maybe you're not comfortable with yourself? Maybe you're not comfortable with the situation, or maybe you just need time to think about the question that is presented to you. But you most often quickly say no. Now let me think about it. Like, let me get it back to you. Or how are you? How are your nerves? Do you find yourself as a bundle of nerves? You're stuttering through your words. You can't always find the word to say because you are just so nervous. The butterflies take over any and every situation. I get it. I wasn't always able to get out there and just talk to everybody and it makes sense and it be a cohesive thought. I got nervous as well. Yes, I enjoy talking. And it wasn't something that happened overnight. If somebody came up to you and said, "Who are you? Who do people say you are? Who do people understand you to be?" Can you explain that to them? Can you show them in a few words who you are? Can you tell them in a nutshell your story, why they should connect with you and why it should resonate with them? What are your goals? What are the purposes? I know the big purpose for this session and the overarching sessions that we do is employee or employment readiness. We want you to be able to land that next job. We don't want COVID to be an excuse for why you can't find work, or if you have yourself in a interview that you can't get through. What are your goals? What have you set before you? Can you speak to them easily? Are they truly part of you? Do you know them well? Do you know them better than the back of your hand? What are you willing to share? Where are your limitations? What's so important to you that you feel like you have to guard it? But at the same time, what are you so comfortable in you and about you that you're willing to share? That at the drop of a hat, if somebody said, "Oh, well, what's your favorite book and why?" Is that so comfortable? Does that resonate with you so well that you can share it? Knowing what you're willing to share, what you're willing to put out there, doesn't mean that you're not being authentic. It means that you are guarded in some areas. And we all have areas that we are guarded in, and that is totally fine. But our challenge here is to understand that in making some connections, it requires us to be willing to share parts of us in that authenticity, in that authenticity. That word always trips me up. I like that word. It's a great word. But I want you to be authentically you in everything that you're doing. Are you a well-rounded person, or have you found yourself kind of staying in one lane only? Like maybe you are a huge Star Wars fan and you only talk about everything Star Wars, but that's not the jobs that you are aligning with per se right now, right? You're not trying to be a producer of a Star Wars movie or a fan fiction writer or something along those lines. What else about you shows that you're well-rounded, that you're not just in one area and that's it, that you're more than just a person that writes things down, or a person that's organized? What shows that you are well-rounded as a person? If you build it, they will come. Now, for some of you, like, wait, I know that quote from Field of Dreams. The goal of this concept is, one, to throw some nostalgia into you so you remember, or this resonates with you. But our careers are relationship oriented. Our lives are relationship oriented. So making genuine connections with people requires building relationships. And for so many, we don't necessarily think about our jobs as being relationship oriented, or our careers as being relationship oriented, where we're trying to go. Everything that we are doing has some type of relationship associated with it, especially if it's one where we are desiring to grow. Every relationship, if you think about it, in order for it to grow, there has to be some intentionality to it. There has to be some work to it. There has to be a purpose to it. One of the little small things that I threw in here were relationships make the world go round. If you look at many things that we are involved with, there's a relationship associated, whether it be church, there are relationships, there are friendships that are associated there. If you're married, there is a relationship that is required in your marriage. If you're on the job or trying to change jobs, if you're trying to find jobs, there are some relationships that are required in doing that. And so we want to be successful. We have to understand that it is relationship oriented, and we have to be relationship minded in how we're building connections with other people. And so one of our most important, if we go right back to the beginning, one of our most important relationships is family. And how we engage with them, how we deal with them, how we are forgiving of them, how we're more inclined to listen, even if we know that they give some of the most horrible ideas. We will still listen to some family members. They come up with some of the wackiest conspiracies of different things. And I promise you, you will still listen to them, even if it's just for a laugh or just to hear what they're talking about. Excuse me. You will still listen to them because they're family. Yeah, I realize that you might tune them out at some point or other, but you will take the time to hear them because they're passionate about it, because they're family. Now, the same goes in line for some motivational speakers. We'll listen to motivational speakers all day, have no relation to them whatsoever, but because they are motivating us, that is the relationship that they have established with us. They are motivating us, inspiring us to keep pushing forward, to keep going at it, to keep going from where we are to that next level and what we're trying to accomplish, even in our job search. We're trying to get that next level. We're trying to get those jobs that we truly want. You might find yourself in a job that you see as dead end. But I challenge you, if you see it as a dead end job, look at the relationships that you've built on that job. How are those? How have you been intentional on building those? A quick story. I find myself in a job that I absolutely hated. I find myself doing the bare minimum to get by, to make sure that my numbers were met and nobody else's. I didn't care. I was just ready to go. But for some reason, I couldn't seem to get out of that job fast enough. And I know you all might be saying, what, you had a job that you hated? And I promise you that if you're watching this, there is probably a job that you found yourself at one time or another. It might even be the job that you're in right now that you absolutely despise. You didn't look forward to going to it at all, outside of the fact that it was paying the bills. But I found myself in a job that I dreaded going to every single day. And I couldn't bring myself to do more than what I was getting. I found myself on multiple PIPs in this job. even with me doing my best, I found myself on PIPs. I found myself in being moved around within roles, things being taken off my plate, given to others, things being given to me. And it was just overarchingly frustrating. And I had to look at the relationships that I was building there, because at that point, I wasn't doing any relationship building. While I was training other people to do roles, I wasn't doing any relationship building because my mind was already out the door. I wasn't even doing my level best to make sure that I could stay there. I was doing just enough to keep a paycheck coming in. But one day I heard a message from one of the deacons at my church who talked about doing our best for God, for the glory of God, that when God looks at what we're doing, that we would fully understand that, oh, he would say, well done. You were doing that so I could get the glory out, not for you to be seen. And I promise you, once I changed my mind, my focus, and stopped looking at what people were expecting and put the focus on more of what God was looking for, the relationships changed. Management changed. My outlook on how I could move in this job changed. And things started to get significantly better to the point where I was building relationships to where a job that I had applied for came up from another job, or a job that I applied for, another job came out of it. And I just couldn't believe it. And it was doing the things that I really, truly wanted to be doing because I was making the time to make those relationships. See, sometimes we can get so pigeonholed, or we can get so narrow focused on what we're doing, and it's the bare minimum because it brings in a paycheck to get the job done. But we have a bigger goal. We have somewhere that we're trying to get to, but we haven't spent the time in truly nurturing those relationships to get to where we were going to next. And I find myself, even now, being able to talk to you all in these employment readiness opportunities and sessions every month about different topics, building relationships, building those employment opportunities, opening your eyes to different mindsets of thinking so that you can move forward in your careers and what you're trying to accomplish. And so that's why it's so important to build those relationships, being intentional on building relationships. Careers are relationship oriented. Where you're going in careers requires you to build relationships, not only with your coworkers, but with your employer, with your supervisor, with all the people that you might come in contact with. And I realize that in some cases, you might see that other people are having better relationships with others because, one, they might have brought them on to that job. And for some things, it might seem unfair. But where you are, there are other people that you can build relationships in. You're not just limited to building relationships with the people that you are coming in contact with in your team only. No. If you find yourself at a career and you see an opportunity or a place or an avenue that is appealing to you, build relationships with those people that you're coming in contact with. Because who knows, that customer or that client that you're working with might be that relationship that helps you get to that next arena or that next job that you're really trying to get into. They might be the key to getting you into that next conversation. But you have to build those relationships intentionally, to help open some of those doors. And yes, it might take some time. It might not be fun always to be intentional on building relationships after relationships with people, and people move on. And you never know where people are going. And you might have built a relationship with somebody and they remember you in their next job. Like, oh yeah, I had this one guy that stood with me through thick and thin in that last job. And when I moved over, I didn't remember him immediately, but I see a job on my team. And I remember one of the other people that I was talking to mentioned the same thing, found himself in a position where one person hired him. He moved to another position, and because of that relationship that they built, when the other person that initially hired him in that role, he moved on, he was able to bring that person with him. And he hired them to come and work with him in a new project that paid better, that was better hours for both of them, was an overall opportunity because of the relationship that they built. In careers, it requires our relationships and us building them intentionally. And so know what career, know your industry, know where you're trying to go, and meet people in them. Here's some 6 keys that I want to leave with you on making people family. One of my favorites to do always is striking up conversations with random people. Now, you might be like, why in the world would I want to strike up conversations with random people? They're random. They have no value to me whatsoever. So you think, because they're random. Random people, one, give us the opportunity to continue to practice on striking up conversations, on impromptu speaking. Remember in our conversation on being a competent communicator, the more time you tend to speak with others, the better you become at speaking when it's necessary, whether it be presentations, whether it be interviews. So striking up conversations or finding ways to connect to people is essential in striking up new conversations. One, you have to be attention to detail oriented. Why? Why do you say that? Why do I say that? Because if you're not paying attention to the details, one, of people, how you gonna strike up a conversation? And for some people, it'll be easy. Excuse me. For some, it'll be easy because they're extroverts. And you say hello to them, and they'll go, hey, how's everything going? And they'll lead the conversation, and you can go from there. For others, they'll, acknowledge and keep going. But what is it about them that attracts you to them? Yes, it might be a random person. Maybe they're wearing a sports jersey of your favorite sports team. You might not be wearing one, but that's a way in. Or maybe you like the shoes that they're wearing, and you're like, oh man, really like those. But it's a conversation starter. Now, let's be honest. You'll probably get rejected in trying to strike up conversations with random people more often than not. But it also helps you build resilience in rejection. We get rejected more times than we care to admit. But when we build thicker skin, when we have that resilience, it helps us move better when it comes to striking up conversations with new people. And if we're looking towards making them family, getting to know who they truly are, it can truly open up the door to somebody that you may not have known that you needed to connect to. That could be that hiring manager in a job or in a location where you've been trying to just get your foot in the door or have a conversation. You never know. And we live in an area where there are a lot of people always that work in the government, that are contractors, that are hiring managers, that are recruiters, that are doing different kinds of jobs in this area. This is a very people-centric, people-moving, job-oriented area. And if you're looking for new things, new opportunities, striking up conversations with a random person, I promise you, it might be awkward at first, but once you get in the hang of doing it, it comes so much easier. And even if you're an introvert and you have to plan it out, because you're attention oriented already, and you're already thinking of things and you're looking at things and you're paying attention to things and following things, it will become so much easier for you to knock things out and work through things if you do that. All right, next. Being truthful and genuine in every approach. Every time you find yourself wanting to have a conversation with someone or going and talking to somebody, whether it be somebody random, whether it be somebody that you know, whether it be somebody that you're making the first impression with, that you've been talking to over internet or email or social media, being truthful and genuine in your approach will speak volumes and take you further than lying will. Now, I realize lying is one of those things that happens a lot on social media. There are scammers all day, every day that lie about certain things, and people fall for it. And people don't fall for it. And more people don't fall for it than people that do fall for it. But it's the truthfulness and the genuineness in your approach. If you are being truthful and genuine, people will feel that. And they will look and in turn be truthful. They'll be genuine. They'll let you know it's too much or it's too little, or they can be themselves because you were truthful and authentic and honest and genuine in your approach to it. They can be honest and forthright with their delivery, what they're talking about, their comfort level. And it comes with some confidence. It comes with time. Like, let's be honest, telling the truth always can be a handful, but it's better to tell the truth and be genuine than to lie and have to tell a lie to remember the lie or tell another lie because you forgot the lie. It is just easier to be truthful and genuine than to make up something and have to cover for it later. All right, let's keep going. Meet people where they are. I like this topic or this thought because we never know where people are until we engage with them. Excuse me. Until we take the time to engage with them. Whether it be where they are in the sense of their religion, what they're going through, their mental stability. We never know what people are going through or engage with, or their cultural norms and all these different things of where people are until we start having conversations with them, until we find ourselves really kind of gathering with them and going to understanding them, meeting them where they are. Is taking this time to step out of your shoes for a moment. Put yourselves in their shoes. Take the time to try and understand their encyclopedia. Sometimes we only see one side of people and we miss all of who they are because we've only seen them one way, or we've let initial prejudice, be the reason why we can't connect with them, why we can't join them, why we can't get close to them. For all of us, we want to do some amazing things. And when we meet people where they are, it allows people to meet us where we are as well. Walking in somebody's shoes is one of the biggest empathy pieces that we can do. It gives us some insight, and it requires us being comfortable with asking questions, getting to know them, getting to understand, truly hearing them, truly listening, hearing the words that they're saying, but also understanding what they're saying. And it takes time. This isn't something that one conversation with a person gives you that full insight of who they are. But it means that you have to be intentional on meeting them there, meeting them where they are, spending time with getting to know them. And I realize you might be like, but what does that have to do with being a better employee or being ready to be an employee? There are some hiring managers or people in roles that you are dying to get into. There are some companies that you would just love the opportunity to be involved with. And you're going to come across some profiles on social media. You're going to come across some people that you meet on a regular basis, some people that you know are going to put you in contact with other people, but you have to meet people where they are to truly understand and get that insight. Next, I like this one because I like hugs. I know I like hugs and I like smiles. I'm a happy person. I like that. And that's me. And that's what you get. That's just what you get. I like hugs. I'm always welcome to hugs and getting to know people. But this is one of those things that it really challenges us to get out of our comfort zone to offer a hug and a smile. Because let's be honest, when it comes to smiling, smiling is free. Smiling, hands down, is absolutely 100% free. We can smile all day, every day with somebody. It might be awkward to smile, but you can just share a smile, and that can make the difference in their day. But going a step further and hugging their neck, sometimes as we find people and meet people where they are, hugging and giving the opportunity to hug gives us a more closer personal connection with them as we endeavor to continue to make them family. We know how even with our family members, when we give people hugs that we haven't seen in a while or people that we care about deeply, that hug releases something not only in our minds, but in their minds that allows us to connect differently. I know, and you all might be like, I'm not trying to hug nobody, but let's be honest. Y'all know for a long while, social media had the plethora of free hug campaigns that were going on for different causes. Some people just giving hugs to be giving hugs, and others for causes to connect with people. Matter of fact, I think we even did a hug video back in the day that connected with people. And just to hear some of the people's comments and the testimonies and things that they shared by sharing somebody that was blindfolded and open and available for a hug. You never know what people are going through. And when we truly decide to come out of our comfort zones and meet people where they are, a hug can go so much further with bringing them closer to being family, to connection, to really having genuine connections with them. And I realize that you might be laughing. You might be like, this man is crazy. Why would I want to hug my future employer or somebody that is working in the field that I'm trying to work in? Why would I want to hug them? What does it benefit me other than connecting with them differently? That's ultimately the purpose of this. My goal in all of this is to get us in a different mindset approach with employment. People, jobs are changing. How people are engaging with others is changing. Because of social media, there's a lot of things that are opening up in the workforce, in what is possible, in work-life balance. A number of things are changing. And it's our job, it's our goal, it's our endeavor to get to those next levels in what we're doing and what we're accomplishing with others. And smiles and hugs, absolutely free. And it might break some things in you. It might break something in you that you didn't even know needed to be broken. Excuse me. Next, let's break bread. Excuse me. Breaking bread with one another. Have you ever noticed that when you sit down to eat, it takes some of the pressure off of anything and everything going on? When you sit down with family, who most often, if you have a dinner table at home and the family comes around to the dinner table, you all are having conversations about your days and different family conversations that you might not have with somebody random, right? That you might not have with somebody that you haven't started building a relationship. But when you take the time to break bread with someone, it gives you one, the opportunity to see how they eat, what they eat, things like that. But at the same time, it opens you all up to conversations that you might not have just had as you were walking from work one day. Because let's be honest, when you break bread together, it means that you all are sitting down to eat together. And if you're eating together, that means that there's going to be some time spent. So why not have conversations? Why not make genuine connections? And probably if you saw some value in the person that you're breaking bread with, right? It makes it all that much more special that you're spending time having a meal with them. It allows you to have different conversations, whether it be politics or it be family life or it be religion, it be background, it be home training, it be any caveat of different things, hobbies like Star Wars and Star Treks. You might be a huge anime fan. Breaking bread allows you to get in some of those conversations that you might not have necessarily gotten into in the office. It also allows you to connect and become friendly with somebody different. And so that's why breaking bread just to bring, to a mutual playing field. You're both eating. Now, I'm not saying that you necessarily have to share your food unless that's part of the intent. You got a potluck with a few friends and you all are bringing different dishes that are important to you, but it also allows you to connect around that food. And then join groups and form groups. I like joining groups and forming groups because there are some groups that are already established in the arenas that you are already dealing in. Whether it be there are peer groups of sports, there are peer groups of auto mechanics, there are groups of tattoo artists, there are groups galore of collectibles and antique dealers. You name it, there is probably a group for it. And if there isn't, but you know enough people that have an interest in it, build a group, form a group, and watch that group grow as you all continue to build relationship with one another. There are so many opportunities in building a group, especially some that are career oriented. I talk about Toastmasters and our Competent Communicator. Toastmasters is a group that is focused around public speaking and presentation giving and motivational speaking as well. And that group has a lot of different groups within it that offer you the opportunity not only to connect about speaking, but about life. And because you have something in common like speaking or a career like graphic designers, there are graphic design groups that are out there. Videography, Christian creatives, there are all these different groups that are associated with jobs that we are trying to get. Find those groups, connect with those groups, and look at the world differently. Now, social media, as I mentioned at the very beginning, is a tool. And that's where we started all of this, right? So it's only fitting that we come back to social media. Many of the groups that we engage with, that we discover, can be found on social media. And if we use it as a tool to connect with people differently, we must be wise on how we use it. If we use the tool correctly and properly, we can make some of the best friends that we've ever had and grow some of these opportunities. We might come across some opportunities that we might not have known about, except for connecting on social media with other people. LinkedIn, for a career site, get on LinkedIn if you aren't already. And if you have a resume, move that bad boy to LinkedIn and start connecting with people that are doing the jobs that you are trying to do. Let them see your resume, connect with them. LinkedIn, I think, offers the opportunity to connect just by clicking connect and seeing if people connect with you, even if you don't know them. And then it also gives the opportunity to leave notes so that it prompts people to give that opportunity to connect an opportunity versus, oh, this is some random person, ignore. But if you leave them a note, you have an opportunity to connect with them. And that happens on many of your social media platforms. Use it for your career. I promise you, if you look at some of the companies that you're trying to work on and some of the things that they are focused on, you can connect with some of the people that are associated with the company and go from there. Social media is a tool, and if used wisely, can be one of your best assets. But if you use it wrong, it can be destructive not only to who you are, but to your career aspirations and everything that you're trying to accomplish. So use your social media wisely. Be yourself, your genuine self there. Put your best foot forward there so that it all is cohesive, it all talks. And even if you aren't on social media, just because you aren't on social media doesn't limit your ability to connect. Well, to some extent it does, but you can still see people that are out there, especially the companies that are out there and what they're kind of posting and sharing with people, their clientele. So it gives you an idea as well on people that are in your field, and you can kind of see what they're posting. You all might remember that old saying that it takes a village to raise a child. But what we've have come to neglect is it takes a village even when you're growing up. It takes relationships. It takes us moving together. It takes our lives being connected and making those genuine connections to truly get into those arenas, those conversations that we desire to be in. And sometimes, because we haven't taken the time to build up our village, we miss out on opportunities. And, for some of us, we've stopped working and operating in our villages. We've stopped building villages. We've become just a person on social media and don't really do anything with it but post our best life self. But we don't connect with people anymore. And so that's one of the caveats of social media. Sometimes we use social media such that we don't truly connect with people. So use it as a tool. Use these tips, these tricks, these keys to connect with people differently, to truly build those relationships, to build your village not only around you, but continue to build a village that is supportive of your family and what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish in your career. Build villages around your career. So let's wrap this up. It starts with family. Look at the approach of us being family. That's truly where it starts with. Understanding our family, the forgiveness, the opportunities, the ability to listen to our family members is our first line. And so if we take that mindset with how we approach one another, looking towards adding them to the family, getting to know them such that they're a part of our village, it can make all the difference. You have to always be authentically you. Know who you are. Be comfortable with sharing your goals. Know what your limitations of sharing is. Know what you want to talk about. Know what is fascinating. Know how to connect to people with who you are. Be you. There is nothing wrong with you being you, letting people see who you are. Then I gave you the 6 keys. Take the keys with you. Breaking bread with people, striking conversations up with random people, being truthful and genuine in your approach to everything. I realize it might be difficult, it might be tough to step out of your comfort zone, but if it's that important to land a job or get into the career path that you want to, build the relationships that make sense to help you get into those conversations, to help you get into those jobs, to see those hiring managers and those recruiters that are looking for people like you, because you've taken the time to be intentional in your relationship building. My endeavor always, in every conversation that we have with employment readiness, is for you to get to that job that you dreamed of. But you got to start somewhere. And so land a job that is a building block to where you're going. Don't always count it out because it's not the ideal in that moment. It might be a relationship in this job is going to help you to get to that next one. Don't sell yourself short. Don't sell the opportunity that you have currently. If you're unemployed, build relationships with anybody and everybody that will listen. Find people online to connect with that are in your role. Maybe there's something in the industry that you need, that you haven't realized that you needed to learn. But because you haven't connected with people, or you haven't connected with people in the role that are doing the jobs, that are moving up in those careers, you're missing out. Build those connections. In everything you do, take the time to build connections. Our lives are intertwined all day, every day. We're meant to be a part of each other's life. Well, that's all I have for you all this day. I hope that this was insightful. I hope that this challenged your mindset about building relationships with others. I always want you to be intentional, be authentically you in everything that you do, and reach for those goals, reach those dreams, reach that job that you have only dreamed of because you have taken the time to step out of the box and make people family. Thank you, as always, for tuning in this time to We Cares initiative employment readiness session. I thank you, as always, for tuning in. As mentioned at the beginning, I am Andre Powell, also known as That Guy Amped. You can find me on most social media platforms. If you want to connect with me one-on-one and have a coaching session, you can go to ampspeaks.com and check my coaching calendar. Get on and let's have a conversation. 30 minutes, an hour is all it takes to start kind of figuring out where you want to go to. If you don't want to start there, if you just want to connect or find an opportunity to connect, shoot an email to info@ampspeaks.com or shoot me a text at 571-989-3271. And I'll be so happy to reach out, to talk to you, to connect with you as I continue to make genuine connections and help you all to reach those goals that are in mind for you. So until next time, know that I love you. God loves you even more. Be inspired, be edified, be encouraged. Put God first in all that you do, love unconditionally, do what you love, and always live an amped life. Let's get amped, and we'll see you next session.